Well, delighted to say our next speaker is Jessica Seaton, who's sitting next to me from Toast, which is the clothing business she founded with her husband in 1997. And it all started with pyjamas, which we're going to probably find out about in a moment. Now, 20 years on, Toast is now one of the UK's leading lifestyle brands, boasting a huge online following, 11 physical shops, when I last counted, throughout the UK, and concessions in 14 John Lewis stores. But what drew Jessica away from a career in archaeology to begin with to a business venture in knitwear, which I think was your original business, and just what became of those pyjamas? Well, ladies and gentlemen, here to tell us all, please give a very warm welcome to the founder and brand director of Toast, Jessica Seaton.
Hi. My iPad's going the wrong way. There you go. Lovely. Hi. So it occurred to me as rather curious and funny that I'm a piece of toast between two food businesses. That's a kind of reverse sandwich. Right. So yeah, I started Toast with my husband Jamie in 1997, and it's looking at some of you in the audience, that is actually, I think, a lifetime ago for some of those people. So, and my experience of building our business is very different to Sid's. You know, the world was totally different then, but I hope you'll be able to take something from it still, even though we're in an era of, you know, the sharing economy and digital and all that stuff. So I'm not really going to give you any facts and figures, because actually I think for Jamie and myself, even though we have been very focused on the business and very kind of granular and thorough about our background work, I think the main thing that might be of interest to you is really how we built the brand and the marketing. And what drove us really was to create something that we really loved and we felt was beautiful. So that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. I'm going to talk about how we started and one or two things we did to grow the brand. So before I start, I'd just be really interested, how many of you have actually got a business now in the audience? And how many are thinking of starting a business? Yeah. And out of the ones who have a business, are you early stage, like first 3 years or longer? Who's first 3 years? Yeah, and who's longer? Okay. So it's just good to know, because maybe, I mean, it's a long time, 20 years, isn't it? So I'll try and tailor what I say according to that. So Toast was born out of frustration, boredom, and a deep need. It was our second business. The first was a design and knitwear business, which taught us a lot about fashion, but had clearly run out of steam after 20 years. And we needed a new challenge. We had nothing. We started with nothing. Actually, we did have something. We had some debt. Yeah, we had debt, and we had a few small assets, and we had some good relationships from our previous business. But we knew what we wanted, and we knew what we didn't want. And a lot of the choices we made were a reaction from the business we'd had before. We made very decorative pieces of knitwear, and they were really, really expensive. Back in the 90s, our sweaters would sell for £600, and we certainly wouldn't be able to afford that ourselves. So we wanted to make something simple, clean and modern feeling. And that's why we came up with the idea of pyjamas. And the concept of something that you could wear around the house that you wouldn't feel ashamed to answer the door in. Pyjamas at that time are kind of paisley with bits of lace around the collar and that sort of thing. So we felt that there was an opportunity. We also wanted to make something we could afford ourselves. we'd spent years with suitcases going into buyers and trying to convince them that they should buy our products. And we wanted really to stand or fall by what we did ourselves and actually create a relationship with the consumer directly. So we decided to make it a mail order business. This is pre-internet. There was no internet really for this type of thing in 1997. We also didn't want the business to be identified with both of us. We wanted to create a brand, and we wanted to have a life beyond us. We wanted to build a business that had the potential to scale. We're not there yet, but we try anyway. So this is our first piece of publicity. We had very little money. We sold some shares that we'd been given by a building society, and we also sold some other bits and bobs, and we amassed £18,000. So that's not really very much to start a mail order business. Mail order businesses take a while to actually achieve profit. You have to create a critical mass of loyal customers to get to that point. So we used everything we could to ensure flexibility and to limit our business risks. We used all our resources that we had, post office accounts, existing banking relationships, premises we already had. And if you're thinking about what to do with your business, there's always ways that you can save money in those sorts of ways. We tested the theory. I came up with the name, Toast, and we tried it out on people. And I was interested, actually, that Sid said he doesn't think people tell you the truth. I can see what you mean, but I think you can tell the difference between real enthusiasm and muted, flattering feedback. So everybody really was very warm about the name. That's a pun. That's a warm as toast. Anyway, and then we took some early samples along to a press day that we were holding for our knitwear business. And all the press came in, Country Living came in, Vogue came in, all the women's magazines. And we said, well, we've got this knitwear, but then we've got this thing. And what do you think of this? And the reaction was really, really, really positive. So we thought, okay, it might be okay. So we knew there was potential. The other thing we did to try and limit our risk, in 1997, the standard mail order, really hard to believe, the standard mail order delivery terms was 28 days. So you had 28 days to deliver the product. So we found a factory that could actually made these chenille gowns, that top right-hand picture of that green gown. And that process involves making the fabric and then dyeing in a dye house. So we bought gowns from them and we coloured them to our colours. And we also made pyjamas out of ready-to-dye fabric and dyed them. So we didn't actually create the product until we had the orders. That's something that may not be possible now, but it was really important actually to limit our exposure to stock at the outset. So we had our product, we had a small office, we had a mail order system, courtesy of the Welsh Development Agency, a grant, and we started to get our first publicity. Initially, a tiny, tiny piece in You magazine, which we were incredibly excited about, which got off to quite a bumpy start because it came out the day Princess Diana was killed, and nobody phoned at all. But gradually, it did gather momentum, and the phone, rang off the hook. We were incredibly lucky. We had calls coming in all day long from abroad, from Britain, from men, from women. It just seemed to sort of hit the spot. And then, as a reaction to that, the sort of press interest grew. And this is a piece in The Independent, as it was, by Melanie Rickey. And she phoned up and wanted to talk to me about what the concept behind Toast was. And I could tell as I talked to her that what I was saying kind of hit the spot. And she wrote this piece about it. And it really was a very important moment for the brand in the early days, because this was the way that we got customers to phone up and actually order the catalogue, which was that poster you just saw, and then place their orders. So the brand work that we've done actually was there right from the start. It's sort of there in the name. The fundamental principles of the brand were there in the name. Toast, it's not a croissant. So it's a humble thing. It's a sort of everyday thing. It's very approachable. And that is a fundamental part of the way we've always presented what we do. We don't want to be high fashion. We want to be the sort of clothing that anybody can wear and will make them feel good. So that was really important, that name. It also feels modern. The name is quite balanced. There's 5 letters which are mirrored around the A. And Jamie drew the shape of it on the back of the envelope, and we worked with a graphic designer who did our first poster and catalogue, and then created the logo just more or less as he'd drawn it. So what else? What else formed the brand? So you've got this sort of these qualities of utility and humility through the name, and then texture has always been important in the clothes from the outset, in those garment-dyed products. And then in the early packaging, we use potato sacks. And nowadays, we still continue with this feeling of texture in our stores. We use raw steel. We use honest, sort of unfaffed around with materials like split lath or raw unfinished wood, these sorts of things. It goes all through. And then the simplicity and functionality of a pyjama is reflected in the clothes, even when it's day wear. We never fake it. A button will always function. A woman's dress will always have a pocket. So there's a certain sort of practicality about the clothes, which is important. And then intelligence. Not us, but our customers. We were really delighted when we saw our customers for the first time, because they're a group of interested, intelligent, and appreciative women, mostly women, but also some men. And we've always tried to talk to that, not to talk down to them. We never overpromise. We never use marketing language which says the next exciting thing. We just say, quite simply, try and reflect the true nature of the products that we're discussing in the tone of voice. Adjectives are banned, unless it's something like blue, which is okay. But we don't use superlatives. We try as best we can to describe with accuracy, and occasionally use a little bit of lightly poetic evocation. And this is an example of that. So, and I guess Jamie, who wrote the copy of most of our work at the outset and for many years, would never kind of hold back on language when talking to our customers. So you can kind of see here that. And this was, eventually we did take Toast on location to do the photography, and we're very much identified with that now. And this was one of the most amazing photo shoots that we went on to Patagonia in the Torres del Paine National Park. This this going and taking the product somewhere else actually added an extra layer of meaning and sense of place to the way we portrayed ourselves. Something suggestive of a world beyond mere clothes. And that's what we've always tried to do. We are just selling clothes. But we care about the context and try to kind of depict the wonderful world we live in, basically. Now we apply this in a more modern way. This is obviously from the early 2000s, so it wouldn't be relevant now. But now we create seasonal themes that feed into the collections, the shoots and the marketing, and also our online magazine. So the marketing, how did we market? It's all about marketing maestros, so I'll let you know what we did. First 10 years were based on classic mail order marketing, but as the business developed, we felt an increasing disconnect between what we wanted the brand to be and the strictures of classic mail order marketing. So more recently, our mix has changed, and I'll take you through that just a little bit. Often our marketing was created by doing things differently, creating a buzz of "have you heard of?" We always wanted to create that beauty and texture and never wanted it to be sort of average. So in our mail order pieces, while other companies printed on the lightest possible paper, our second book that we mailed out had a heavy corrugated cardboard cover. And while others worked in strict, products per square inch, we devoted a whole page to marmalade. So it was sort of about trying to create impact, really. And on the marmalade, we saw no problem in including that with clothes and bed linen with books. This sort of mix is common now, but in 1997 and 2000 it wasn't. We spent money on design, we spent it on quality photography. And we did things like, with the products, we had a dress once that Jamie designed with his team, and it was a really beautiful dress and a skirt, and we had the fabric tested and realised that you couldn't wash it or clean it at all. So we had to have this decision: do we pull this product or do we sell it? And we decided to still sell it. And we put a little caption in our book saying, "This is a dress that we really love. You cannot wash it and you cannot dry clean it, but we loved it and we wanted to put it in." And we sold them all. And people still speak about that to us. So I think that kind of thing is really important, because it set us apart in our customers' eyes as doing something because we care about it, not just for not just for business reasons. And they certainly, with our brand, have really responded to that, and we've gained a lot of loyalty through that approach. Okay, I'm going to shorten this because I've been going a while. Okay. So I just want to talk about the other things that we just, again, about what we did that was different. When we first started and we wanted to find another way to promote ourselves, we used catalogue ads in the back of magazines because that's all we could afford. There was a massive print on those pages, and Jamie said, "I don't want ours to say anything but just 4 words." So we just printed it with 4 words saying simplicity, modernity, comfort, colour, and a phone number, and it made us stand out. So it's just that, about doing something a little bit different. I'm going to move on now to what we could have done better, because I think that might be quite useful for people. Okay, what would I change if I could? After 20 years, I would have changed. I'd keep the business more focused. Our sort of natural enthusiasm, which you may have picked up on, led us to overextend the product range and the number of activities, which really put a strain on everything. And not having really a team or slick processes, this really held us back. It was much too early to do that. And we've now recently stripped that back. If I had my time over again, I'd take stronger action more quickly when there's need. It became a problem. It took us much longer to raise finance than we anticipated it would. So anticipate things will take you much longer than you think they're going to. And then again, when we needed to strengthen our team, we limped along for much longer than we should have done before taking the difficult decision, which we did take about 3 years ago, to move half the business to London. A wise person once told me that a business needs investment at 7, 17 and 70 million pounds. We missed the first step by some millions and some many years, actually, and the business really paid for that. So I just caution you to actually look at those investment decisions hard and make them as early as you can. Happily now the business has got over that slightly fallow period and that move to London with a strong, motivated management team. We appointed a CEO in January, 18 months ago, and she has helped us put together a strong management team with real expertise, and we're now motoring towards the last of those steps. So tips, I've completely forgotten to change the slide. Anyway, this is what we look like now. This is our autumn-winter book. So the design is updated. We've really given attention to every part of the business in the last 2 years. We've looked at the marketing mix, we've looked at the brand, we've looked at the product, we've looked at the fit. It's been a root and branch restating of what Toast is. And it's a thoroughly exciting moment for Jamie and myself to see the seed that we created being brought to life with this new and energetic team that we're now working with. So my tips, do something you love, not just like, love. I think there's so many tough things you come across in business. You've really, really got to love what you do. And then do something different. There's so much out there, and differentiation is difficult, but it's absolutely vital. There really isn't anybody that has a product mix like us, and I'm not making any claim for myself because there are lots of businesses, but it really helps us stand out amongst the mass of, you can buy trousers anywhere, from Georgia Asda to, Prada, but the loyalty you get is from the consumer who connects with what you offer. So do something different. And do it well. There's no place for slipshod nowadays. And then another point is listen to your inner voice. Deep down, you'll know what's the right thing for your business. So take some time out. Go for a walk, go to an exhibition, play with your kids, play a game. Go offline with your mind. And then I find that the real answer bubbles up inside you. Listen to it, really listen to it. It's really easy to ignore that little voice, but you shouldn't. You should trust that instinct. Absolutely, you have to check, you have to do your research, all that's important, but you will know what's the right thing. And then lastly, work with clever people and give them autonomy. This is a hard one for an entrepreneur to learn, and it's been really hard for us. The buzz for an entrepreneur is creating and doing, but if you want to grow your business, you have to bring in expertise to let it flourish, and that's what we've had the pleasure of recently doing. So that's some bit more stuff. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jessica. One would hope that you're wearing Toast clothes as well today,
Yeah.
from top to bottom. Okay, fabulous. Obviously, you've mentioned Jamie. I'm taking that's your husband.
Yeah.
So, any aspiring or entrepreneurs out there that are thinking of going into business with their partner, would you recommend it? Has it been the secret of your success, or were you just lucky?
Has it been the secret? We have a really good working relationship, and our skills sort of complement each other. I think there are couples that could do it and couples that can't, honestly. I know people who say, I could never work with my husband. It's not without its challenges, for sure. But we're just really close and know what each other thinks. So, yeah, it's been really good for us.
Yeah. And you mentioned about having a new chief exec. So you've gone for that expertise, which is interesting. Obviously had a transformational effect on your business. Just thinking about the scene as it is today, 20 years ago, like you said, e-commerce didn't exist. We're omnipresent, it's cross-border. E-commerce is very different, and also the dialogue with the customers. So how are you seriously taking that dialogue from your customers now? I know you said you don't talk down to them, but how are they shaping your brand now through social media and other marketing tools?
Well, we've let them in, basically. So we have a weekly feedback for anything that anybody says gets reported to the whole business on a weekly basis. So we get, and they're very vocal, our customers. They really tell us what they think. So, and we love that. So we do that, and the social strand has really built. And that's a two-way thing. So particularly on Instagram, running little sort of Instagram, well, not competitions, but sort of interactions, really, for want of a better word. Yeah. So all the time we interact. We bring them into stores. Our CEO Susie has a plan to bring some key customers into the office to kind of tell us what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. So yeah, I'd say that's even more important than ever. I mean, it was there right from the beginning, but it's on another level now.
Now imagine you're starting over again, limited budgets. What do you think would be the key branding and marketing ingredients that you think would deliver the best return on investment? What would you do?
I don't know about best return on investment. I don't know. I was saying to Sid, and actually you referenced this, I think you make the business that is right for you. I find it hard to understand, maybe it's just me, I find it hard to understand how you could create a business which doesn't feel like you. So I couldn't create a business that's that doesn't feel like me.
But the authentic you.
The authentic me. So I guess that's my answer.
I will accept that answer. Thank you very much, Jessica. And you'll get an opportunity to ask Jessica a question. But big round of applause for Jessica once more. Thank you, Jessica.